So Mr. Fishbach is known for the idea of the Doge Dividend check, that the American taxpayers should get a check back. Great. Donald Trump's name should be on it. I don't think he'd allow it to go down any other way. Do you think it is going to happen? And are you concerned that your idea gave an expectation to outcomes that may not be reasonable given the state of play within our government?
So much there. Yes.
That was James Fishbach, the creator of the $5,000 Doge Dividend check, just giving the latest update just 2 days ago about the $5,000 check of eligibility, timeline, and congressional action. So if you want to know those updates, stay tuned for that. Also, we're going to talk about the $1,400 check, which literally only has 4 days left according to the IRS deadline. So if you have not received the $1,400 check back from 2021, the third stimulus check, there is specific action you need to take right now. And I'll let you know exactly what that is. And I'll give you some other important updates regarding stimulus. Before I dive into the main content, if you appreciate these stimulus updates, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more stimulus updates. And if you're wondering what's going on with my forehead, I got sunburn and it's peeling and I look like a mess. So just letting you know about that. All right, so let's get into this. Stimulus 2025, who's eligible for the $1,400 and how to claim it before the IRS deadline. Another headline here, last chance for some Americans to claim $1,400 IRS check. Here's who's eligible, and there's just a week left to claim $1,400 from the IRS. Literally just 5 days left. April 15th is the deadline. If you did not receive your third stimulus check of $1,400 back in 2021, you need to file a tax return. Even if you made $0 this year, file a tax return so you could claim your 2021 $1,400 stimulus check. So really important. I'm going to give one more reminder right before, but make sure you do that. Let me know down in the comments below if you have received your $1,400 stimulus check. I think I said there's still 1 million people who have not received this free money, a free $1,400. Make sure you take advantage of that. Share this with anyone else who has not gotten their $1,400 stimulus check back in 2021. April 15th is the deadline. All right, let's get into this $5,000 Doge stimulus check. So I'm going to get into eligibility, timeline, congressional action. But first, let's take a listen to James Fishbach talking with Chris Cuomo about the latest updates regarding the Doge dividend check. Take a listen and we'll go over some more details.
I was trying to figure out why I know who you are. I guess the dividend check was really your introduction to us. But how did you get into the world of Doge and Trump and politics? How did this happen?
It goes back a long way. I
can't go that back far. You're 29 years old.
Yeah, just turned 30. So in a new decade, Chris. But I guess to answer that question, I have been getting closer and closer to politics now for the last couple of years. I think really the most recent chapter was when Bill Ackman introduced me to Vivek Ramaswamy over email in early 2023, just as he announced his presidential run. And then I started spending a lot of time with him, advising the campaign, traveling with him. I'd always been a conservative, but this was the first time I'd actually seen policy and politics up close. And then, of course, when President Trump announced the creation of Doge and Vivek and Elon as being a part of it, I got more closely involved. And so I guess that answers the question on the proximate cause.
James, do you have anything to do with Doge officially?
No, I'm not on the payroll at all. This proposal came from our investment firm, Azoria. As I brought up, and when we first talked about it, it literally came to me in a dream. I think it speaks to the kind of crazy dreams that I have doing, econ policy analysis and macro investing for the past decade. But no, I'm not formally a part of the Department of Government Efficiency. I'm a concerned American, like millions of us, who wanted to put a proposal forth. We did that, and I'm honored that Elon and the president support it.
So Mr. Fishbach is known for the idea of the Doge Dividend check, that the American taxpayers should get a check back. Great. Donald Trump's name should be on it. I don't think he'd allow it to go down any other way. Do you think it is going to happen? And are you concerned that your idea gave an expectation to outcomes that may not be reasonable given the state of play within our government?
So much there. yes, I really do believe it will happen. And I've got unique information because I've been on the Hill for the last 2 weeks meeting with members in the House and the Senate. Got some really good constructive feedback, but overwhelmingly really positive support on this proposal. It's common sense, Chris. When the government saves money, the government doesn't make its own money. This is taxpayer money. It ought to send some of that back to the taxpayers who sent it to DC in the first place. And so to your second question about an expectation, I would just push back on that respectfully because I am very optimistic this will happen. Of course, there are some folks, Speaker Johnson, I just had a nice little email exchange with his team about some feedback and we're answering that now. But I got to tell you, when you have the support of a president who won the way that he did, the support of Elon Musk, the support of the cabinet of Secretary Besson, of Kevin Hassett, who leads the NEC, we're going to make the best case for this. I don't rest on the laurels of President Trump's support for it. I still have to make the best argument possible. And that's what we're doing. But I got to tell you, Chris, let's be honest. When's the last time an economic policy proposal got this much national coverage from just everyday Americans, not just folks in my circle or yours, but to have Charlemagne the God? And I'm looking through TikTok and Instagram. There are thousands of videos every day from hardworking folks saying, this is why I need a Doge dividend. So I'm not going to let them down. I'm working every day. It's the first thing I think about, the last thing I think about every single morning and evening. How can we get this across the line for Americans?
Why is it on you though, James? You're not working for Doge. You're not working for the government. This was your idea. Good for you. Good idea. But why do you have to lobby for it? And in whose name are you lobbying?
I'm lobbying on behalf of Americans. I get 100 emails a day, minimum, from people saying, here's my unique situation. Here's why I could really use the check. And most people they're saying, I took on a lot of debt, Chris, they say, because of the Biden-Harris inflation. I need to pay that debt off. I didn't take off the debt because I wanted to buy a new Lamborghini or I wanted to go out to eat or go to Vegas. I took on the debt because prices went up so much that my credit card bills and the interest went up as a result. And so I feel responsible to the folks who are reaching out to me. The second is because I'm a believer that ideas are a dime a dozen. If I just put this idea out there and had nothing to do with it beyond proposing it, I shouldn't get and I shouldn't feel responsible for it. But I want to take this all the way through. I view it as almost a civic obligation to not just introduce something, but I'm a big believer of execution. Uber, as you know, Chris, wasn't the first company to want to put people in cars and take them from A to B. Their success was execution. Apple, Chris, was not the first company with a touchscreen phone. Their success was execution. And so what will define the legacy of this proposal is not that it got introduced and created a 3-week viral moment for Azoria and for me. It's that it got introduced, it got passed, and millions of hardworking folks across this country, whether they voted for President Trump or not, got a check because they overpaid their taxes. And now they need some support from DC.
Why did you pick the name Azoria?
I picked the name Azoria because it's a combination of the old world and the new world. Azoria is the name of an archaeological site on the island of Crete, about 3,000 years before the birth of Christ. And it was actually way ahead of its time. And so I think that we are an investment firm that is both rooted in the old world wisdom of we think for ourselves. And just because Wall Street is having a little bit of a temper tantrum or is subscribed to a particular popular idea doesn't mean we should. We truly do think for ourselves in everything that we do. And then that's the old world wisdom, the classic liberalism. But the new world is we're also thinking deep into the future. We're not investing for the next quarter or even the next year. We're looking at Tesla's valuation or America's prosperity 10, 15 years out. And our investments reflect that.
Smart. Criticism of Doge, finding waste, fraud, and abuse. Nobody's going to be against that. Nobody's ever been against it. As you know, as a student of politics, people always promise it, especially around entitlements in terms of what to do. And every time someone looks for it, they never fail to find it. The criticism would be how Doge is going about it, especially when they're going to be so dependent on Congress. Do you believe that they should have been quieter about their work? Go through, get your list, go to Congress, see what you can get approved, and then brag.
I don't. I think they've done it pretty darn perfectly by just rolling up their sleeves and getting the work done. The problem, as you know, Chris, is that a camel is a horse orchestrated by committee. The more people that you involve in this process, the slower it will be and the longer it will take to cut the waste, fraud, and abuse and to deliver for Americans. And so I got to tell you, Article 1 gives Congress the power of the purse, not just the power to spend from the purse, but the power to tighten the purse strings. That has not happened. The government is spending literally 50% more today than they were in 2019. We don't have to roll back the clock 30 years to get to fiscal sustainability or to a balanced budget. We got to roll back the clock 5 years. And so as much as I want Congress to be a part of the solution longer term, presently, they're kind of part of the problem because there shouldn't even have to be Doge in the first place. Congress should have looked at all this USAID stuff, looked at the fraud in Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security and said enough is enough and really tightened the purse strings. So I think Doge has done it dead right. There's obviously going to be some need for the scalpel, as President Trump said, that there needs to be coordination and there continues to be between cabinet secretaries and their respective funding. But I truly wouldn't have it any other way. The fact that some people are upset about this, I got to tell you, the Constitution, I have it right here on my desk. I looked at the Bill of Rights this morning when I walked in. There is no constitutional right for a federal worker to keep their job if it's no longer needed.
True.
I understand it. I grew up, my parents lost their job in the Great Recession. I grew up for a large part of my life on government programs like food stamps after 2008. But as the economy changes, as the needs of the government change, folks got to be let go, and that makes for a leaner government, and that's respectful for taxpayers.
Listen, I'm with it, but isn't there a little bit of a boogeyman in the size of the federal government? It's been basically the same size for the last 30, 40 years. What else can you say that about? In fact, there are fewer employees now than there were at other points earlier in our history. Not to say that you shouldn't lean down, but to point at it like it is the symbol of waste in government, I don't know about that. And my concern about Doge, so you can address both of these. One, federal workers aren't the problem specifically. Second, Doge keeps getting shit wrong, James. And if they just did it and then got it all right and came out with it once instead of Elon having to wave around a chainsaw, you wouldn't get as much scrutiny.
Yeah. So let me start with the Doge getting stuff wrong. Of course, Doge has gotten stuff wrong. I mean, what government agency hasn't, right? What's gotten stuff wrong is the fact that you've got 3 times as many credit cards as you have employees at some of these cabinet positions. What's gotten stuff wrong was Sesame Street to Iraq. So everyone's going to get stuff wrong, Chris. What I think the issue is that at least Doge is admitting it. When Elon gets something wrong, the website is updated within a couple of days. The fact that we even know that Doge is getting stuff wrong is because they're telling us and updating the site accordingly. So I'm not going to hold Doge, and I don't think any American should, to this perfection standard because no part of government is going to get it right all the time. The second point is you're right. The number of employees in the federal government certainly hasn't gone up materially. But what we do care about, 2 things has gone up. The amount of government spending has gone up. And part of that is enabled by the number of employees who oversee and execute on that spending. And 2, and this is directly tied to employee headcount, is regulations. Regulations have gone up by 8 to 10 times since the mid 20th century. So in less than 70 years, we have 10 times as more regulations on the books. Who enforces those regulations are the people. I think most government workers are hardworking patriots who were put in a position by their bosses to do things that were not necessarily good for the country. So I don't see anybody necessarily demonizing government employees from the top. I see some accounts here and there on Twitter doing XYZ, but most government workers are hardworking folks. A lot of them voted for President Trump. A lot of them actually support this, and no one wishes them any ill will. But we just have to be honest that no, cutting government employees isn't a way to necessarily reduce government spend. But a lot of the government spend and regulation, Chris, that's holding back the country is directly tied to that headcount. And so by reducing regulations, you have to reduce the bureaucrats who are overseeing and enforcing them. And I don't talk about clean air and clean water. I talk about the pointless regulations that tell local schools how to run themselves, not from Bentonville, but from DC. And so that's what we get at. I have respect for government workers, but I think we have to be honest about the system that is just really not working for most people. And part of that is saying, got to take some people off the court. If we end up putting them back, that's that. We're going to obviously err on the side of taking few more off than we otherwise might have, but we can always hire them back if we need to. But I think that the regulation and the spending is really what we should be optimizing for. Certainly laying off every single federal government employee does not get us to a balanced budget. Nowhere near that. But it's the fact that a lot of the government excess in spending, Chris, is enabled by those employees. And at a time of artificial intelligence, I got to be honest, a lot of that work is not just going to be cheaper, but it's going to be a heck of a lot more effective to have AI audit large businesses for fraud as opposed to an individual who's going to have a ton of work on their plate and may see things that AI might otherwise catch.
All right, so let me just fill you in on some details because I kind of went a little all over the place there. So when it comes to eligibility, timeline, and congressional action, first, we all know what the $5,000 Doge dividend check is at this point. Really quick, take a look at the Doge Live tracker. We're at $150 billion saved. That's $931 per taxpayer. Let me know, would you be happy with a $931 check? I think they should send that now. And if it gets up to $5,000, great. But if not, at least people walk away with something. All right, so has Congress approved the $5,000 Doge dividend yet? No, they have not. Supposedly there's legislation, but nothing has been approved or passed in Congress. Who would be eligible for the Doge stimulus payment? So looks like here it's saying that it must be a net payer of federal income taxes, although James Fishbach debunked that, saying that even if you made $0, even if you're low income, if you're on Social Security, you're a veteran, you are still eligible for that $5,000. When could Doge checks be sent? So when it comes to could be sent, estimated processing time post-approval would be 2 to 3 months. Now, the question is, when is it going to be approved? Well, supposedly they're working on it at Congress, so still no definite timeline. Why is there a delay? Well, why isn't there a delay? Anything with government, there's always a delay. So those are the latest in terms of timeline, eligibility. Congress looks like things are just still moving forward in a very slow way. But let me know your thoughts. Are you going to get a Doge dividend check? Do you think this is actually going to happen? Or are these empty promises? Let me know down in the comments below. If you appreciate how I gave you all this information, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully brighten your day a bit. Here's my daughter Belle's tip of the day.
Hi, my name is Bill, and this is the tip of the day. Do you know what you should always know to do? Even though if you can't go travel or anything, you could always try to find something they could do in the area that you're at, or maybe you could probably go visit another state if you have a car or so, and you could go to different places, but it doesn't always have to be traveling to different countries and stuff. But oh my god. But whatever makes you happy, just do it. Bye.
Important letters have been sent by the Social Security Administration. If you haven't received it yet, I'll let you know what you could do in this video. Also, I'll talk more about what those letters are in this video. So click that now and I'll see you in that video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.